Hi, I'm Debbie Homer, a Floriani educator with R&K Distributing. I'm here with another simple and easy, quick sewing project for you. The times we live in right now are totally different than they ever have been before. And the only thing that seems to be on our mind is hand sanitizer and Lysol wipes. So my idea is to come up with something that I could put my little Lysol wipes in. And of course now they're telling you to take very minimal into doctor's offices, into any retail store, so don't pack a big purse. So I just wanted to come up with something that would be simple, something I could put my cell phone in, something I could put my debit card or my credit card, and then take the Lysol wipes, put them in a baggie, because it's much more easier to do this than the big container of your wipes. So I've got my Lysol sanitizer wipes in here. So if I go to get gas or wherever I'm at, I have these all inside of here, and all I have to do is open this up, pull one out, and I've taken 10 and folded them up and put them inside. Originally I was going to put vinyl on the inside and then just put the wipes inside, but then I was worried that it wouldn't keep them as well as if I put them inside of a Ziploc bag. And the vinyl's a little more trickier to sew with. And the idea of this too is that it's all simple sewing. It can be done on any kind of sewing machine. It doesn't have to be an expensive machine as long as it does a straight stitch. And this is going to be very simple and very easy for you. So when you go to the store or you go to the doctor's office, you've got your credit card, your debit card. You have your little Lysol wipes right here to wipe off doorknobs, or if you get gassed, wipe off the key. And then you have your phone. So let's show you how we're going to do this. So we're calling this our Multipurpose Little Bag. And I'm going to show you the products that I've used in this. We're going to prep our fabric pieces with Dreamweave Ultra. This has a fusible coating on the back side. You'll feel the little nubbies. What this does is it adds extra support and body to your fabric. It's wonderful. It doesn't add any bulk, but it does give it body so that it's just not a flimsy fabric piece. And you'll be amazed how wonderful this stuff is. So I have fused this to several pieces. Now the cell phone pocket itself, I've used our fabric or our Fab foam, because it has the protection in it, and there's quite a little bit of oomph to that, and I really, really love it. It makes a huge difference by putting that in to protect your phone. So these are the two main things that I'm going to be using in it, besides our little rings here that we have, our O-rings that we've used for our handle. Now this is just a simple project again, and we're going to post the PDF instructions for you and the supply list. But each one of my fabric pieces, I have fused the Dreamweave Ultra already to the back. Again, I've just ironed that on, so I've already got that all done for you. On my cell phone pocket, I have fused the Fab foam to half of it and then folded it in half. The Fab foam has a fusible coating on one side as well. So let's start with our zipper. We're going to need about an 8 to 9 inch zipper, and we're going to take our one piece of the lower panel, and this lower panel happens to be, I want to give you the right dimensions here because I've done this and changed it so many times. This is 8 by 8 and this is 2 by 8. So we're going to put our zipper in between so we have a little bit of a contrast. So the first thing I want to do on my machine is change it to a zipper foot. No matter what kind of or brand of a machine you may have, a zipper foot's going to have a little cutout on each side, and that's so that you can flip it to each side to get close to the zipper. Now you can move your needle on every brand of machine. So by taking and moving that, I can get really close to that zipper. So this is the bottom panel, which is 8 by 8. I'm going to take the right side of the fabric. Now remember, I've already fused my Dreamweave Ultra to the back. I'm going to put the right side of the zipper to the right side of the fabric, and I'm going to put the edge of the zipper tape along the edge. Now I have my zipper foot on, but I am going to move my needle to the left so that I can get a little bit closer. And I don't know if you can see my needle moving or not. And I'm going to sew right along next to those teeth. And you may have to leave your needle in and move your zipper pull, but I think I'm going to be okay. Now we'll press this in just a minute, but you can see that I've gotten that not right on the teeth, but it's about 1/4 of an inch away, or 1/8 of an inch. Now you're going to take that 2-inch piece that's 8 inches long, and again I have the Dreamweave Ultra fused to the back. I'm going to flip my zipper so it's facing right side up. I'm going to take the right side of my fabric and I'm going to line up those raw edges just as I did on that lower piece, and I'm going to sew it close to the zipper teeth as well. I'm going to flip it over so I can see where I'm sewing, and I'm going to take the edge of the zipper tape to the edge of the fabric, the raw edge again, and I'm also going to make sure that my 2 pieces line up down this side. So now we have our zipper in between our 2 pieces. So I'm going to take this over to the iron and I'm going to press this so I can top stitch on this. Now I'm going to leave my needle where it's at, but I am going to lengthen my stitch length just a little bit. So depending on what your machine, normal is about 2.5. I would bump it up to about 3. You'll have a prettier stitch if you do so. Now I'm just going to top stitch right along each one of these edges. Then I'm going to come back and you can see where I've top stitched that. I'm going to do the other side, and that's just going to hold that zipper nice and flat. Okay, so now we have our front piece and you can see how the zipper's been top stitched. We're going to leave our zipper pull right where it is. Now, if you're wondering how come my zipper's like this, I buy zippers on a roll, and so I can cut off what I need. Now, if you're using a regular zipper, you're going to have your zipper pull over here with your stop out here and end up having to cut it off. So don't panic wondering what's wrong with your zipper, all right? We're going to take our credit card pocket. Now, our credit card pocket, let me get the right dimensions here, is 5 inches by 6 inches, and I do have the Dreamweave Ultra fused to the back. We're going to take and put it right sides together. Now this is the 6-inch length, this is the 5-inch. So we're going to fold it in half, making it 2.5 inches. So I'm just going to sew across this top edge, and I'm just going to use the width of the foot. I am going to bar tack this. And I'm going to cut at a triangle here because we're going to turn this. And we're going to use this awesome tool called our turning tool. And I'm going to punch in my corner to make sure I'm nice and point. And then I'm going to take and rub the end of this little ball right across that seam. Makes it so nice and it lays nice and flat. Now this is going to go with the raw edges to the raw edges. So I'm going to top stitch right across the top of this to make it look nice and pretty. And again, I'm just going to use the width of the foot, but I'm going to increase my stitch length a little bit so the stitches stand out good. Get rid of my thread tails because they drive me crazy. That's my OCD. All right, now if you feel more comfortable to go to your iron and finger press this, go right ahead. But since I'm filming, I'm going to make do. I'm going to put this in the corner. Now, if you felt like you wanted it to be in the center, you could, but I kind of like things offset. I'm definitely not a, what do you want to call it? Well-balanced girl, I guess. I like things different. So I'm just going to put a couple pins in here to hold it. Now I'm going to sew along this edge to tack this all down, and then we'll catch this when we sew it. So I'm going to come over and I'm just going to go along the very edge, and I'll show you how close I get. I'm going to leave my pins in there so when I put the right sides together, so you can see that I'm right close to that edge, and this is just the top stitch, so our little credit card will just fall right down in there. We'll catch this when we sew it all together. All right, so now we have the front down. Let's take our back, and we're ready to put our cell phone pocket on it. Now remember, we took that 8x8 piece and we sewed our Sew Fab foam, or not sewed it, excuse me, pressed it. You're going to be able to tell it'll feel rough on one side. That's the fusible side. And when you fuse it, just give it a good shot of steam. But this stuff is wonderful, you guys. You can make eyeglass cases with this. Oh, I love it for table toppers, to put for trivets, to put hot plates on your dishes. So I've pressed this in half now, and I'm going to go and sew just like I did on my little credit card pocket. I'm going to top stitch down one side. This sews through so easy. You'll love this stuff if you like to make bags, purses. It'll give it body and stability so your purse will stand up. See how nice that looks? All right, we're going to just lay this across the bottom. I'm going to put a couple pins in it to hold it into place. Okay, so we've got our back ready. We have our front ready. So all we really need to do now is work on the handle. All right, so we have our 2 strips here. Now I had to cut 2 strips because I didn't have a piece that was long enough, and I believe I told you 36 inches long. Now don't take that measurement in stone. If you want it to be a crossbody, you're going to have it longer. And we're all different sizes. So you're going to need to measure what works for you if you want to put your arm through and do it a crossbody, or if you just want it to be just over the shoulder, you may want it shorter. So I've cut mine 36 inches long. Now I didn't have a piece long enough because I was using fat quarters. So I'm going to sew these 2 pieces together to give me what I need. Now anytime I'm sewing pieces together like this to join, I'm going to sew them on a diagonal. So I'm going to take my 2 2-inch strips, and I'm going to sew right across. And if you can always remember when you're joining to do a bias, you always want to start in the left-hand corner and sew to the right-hand corner. Now if you need to take a ruler and draw your diagonal, feel free to do so. And you can see how that looks. Now I'm going to cut this off 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to take it over to the iron and press my seam open. Okay, so we've pressed our seam open. Now I'm sure a lot of you have these. If not, these are great little tools to have. These are bias tape makers, and they come in different sizes, and I'm using the 25. Now, I've cut this 2 inches wide to fit through. I take and cut at an angle because it's a lot easier to feed it through if you cut one end of it at a diagonal. So what you're going to do is feed this through, and then I use my wonderful little stylus here to kind of get it started. Now you have to kind of wiggle this back and forth to get it going because we're getting it, there we go. So you're going to take this over to the iron. Now this is just a really cool way to do a double-sided bias. So I'm going to put my iron here, and I'm moving my iron as I pull and pressing this continually so that when I'm all done, it looks just like this. Now once I had it all pressed, then I folded it in half and pressed it again. So you're going to pull that through. That's what this little handle's for, is to pull while the iron is on and pressing. Then once you get that all done, you'll take and fold it in half and press again. So I'm going to move this out of the way because I've already got it done for you. And you can see how I've pressed it in half. So what I want to do now is I want to sew down each edge, and then I'm also going to sew down the center. Now I didn't make my handle worrying about having to add stiffness because I really don't have any weight in this except for my cell phone, and that's it. I sewed my handle 3 stitches. Now the reason I do that is because it gives it a little more stability. The more you sew it, the more stability it gives it. So what I've done after I've sewed that is I cut off a 5-inch strip, and then I cut that 5-inch strip in half. So I have 2 2.5-inch strips. I've got this one all pinned. I put it through my O-ring, and then I'll put this second one through and put a pin in it. Kind of hold it into place. Then I'm going to move my handle aside for just a second. I'm going to put this in about a 1/2 inch from the edge of the front. Now this is the front of the little bag. Now I may have told you that this was 8 inches. I'm sorry. You will have a supply with the right dimensions, but it's 7.5 inches long by 8 inches. So about a 1/2 inch. I just want enough that I can be able to get my side seam there, but not catch my little tab. You can do the same thing on the other side, because you can kind of push that little O-ring in as you're going around. Sorry. We are ready now to put right sides together. You can see how simple this is. It's a very easy, simple project. So I'm going to put right sides together. Now if you need to trim up a little bit, you know, you can easily do so. I love these little clips. These are awesome to use. So I'm just going to kind of hold this together. We're going to sew it all the way around. Now, on the instructions I have in capital letters, do not forget to open up your zipper, because if you don't open your zipper, you will have no way to turn it. So let me undo this so you can just see what I'm talking about here. So don't forget to open up your zipper. Now I'm going to open this, and I don't want to go all the way because I'd like my 2 sides to remain closed. Remember, I use zipper on the tape, or on the roll. So now I have an opening there, but if you don't, then you'll be very unhappy with yourself because you won't have an opening you can turn. So don't forget to open up your zipper. Now we can place this all together, and we're going to sew around the whole entire outside edge, and I'm just going to use the width of my foot. Now I'm going to show you a little trick what I do when I come to the corners, because I do 1 stitch on a diagonal, then it turns a little bit better. Doesn't really matter where you're going to start, but I am back to my regular stitch length. I never sew over pins, so be sure and take your pins out. Okay, so what I'm saying, and I'm going to have Ginger zoom in, remove my pen. When I come down and I feel like I'm the width of my foot, I'm going to do one stitch on a diagonal and then the rest of the way. That way you won't have such a, it'll turn easier on your point. I'm going to do the same thing on this one as well. One on the diagonal and then the rest of the way up. Going to be sure and push this little O-ring guy out of the way. Now when I get to my zipper, I'm going to back over that where the zipper teeth are, just to give it a little more oomph if I get too little rambunctious and try to pull that zipper too hard. And I'm going to do one on the diagonal. Then I'm going to push him back in there to make sure he's nice and straight. And you could back tack over that tab too so that it doesn't rip out. Nothing any more aggravating than to have it come apart and then have to rip it open to fix it. Diagonal. Push my little O-ring in out of the way. And here I'm coming to the zipper again. So I'm going to back tack over that zipper and end up where I started. So I'm going to cut my corners. And I'm going to trim off some of my zipper, excuse me. And I am going to grade my seams where my So Fab foam is, and I'll show you what that is. We have blunt edges, so I'm going to take and trim off one of the edges, which is the foam, so that it's not the same as the others, then they're not all blunt together. That's called grading. And this one's pretty much down there anyway, so I think he's okay. I just don't want him to be right on now. This one's not, so I'm going to trim him off a little bit. Then they're all different and they're not all blunt right together. Okay, now here's where that opening is. It's a good thing we have that, or we would not be able to turn our little bag. Now, I like to zigzag my edges, or I run them through my serger. If you don't have a serger, because we're not going to line this, you can run it through your serger or just take and use a wide zigzag close together or an overcast stitch on those edges. But let's just go ahead and finish this and I will turn it and show you. Turn this right side out. You're going to use that cool turning tool again. Just a simple little bag just to hold your little Lysol wipes in. And now I've got my cell phone bag over my credit card, so I just have to flip it to the back. I'll get my turning tool here. Now the great thing about this is I can run it inside the seam as well, because there's nothing more aggravating than going to the iron, trying to take a pen and pull that seam out. So if you just take that little ball on that tool, it works so slick. Come down here. And I think you'll find by doing that little diagonal, it'll make such a difference in how your corners will be. They really do come out a lot nicer. So take and punch out your seam. We've got the cutest little bag. Isn't that just adorable? You can press this all down, and all I'm gonna do is take my handle now. I'm gonna run it through. I don't like raw edges to show, so I fold under one edge, and then I come up, and I'm going to sew across that. Another little trick, never start on the blunt edge. Start in the center, back it up, and come forward. Now I have this awesome little stylus that is my extra third hand that I dearly love. This is a Floriani tool. So I'm going to slide this under my teeth here on my machine. Make sure everything is all lined up, nice and even. And I'm going to bring it to the center. If Debbie can hold everything together here. So don't start on the edge. Come forward and then back it up. Because if you start on an edge, then what happens is it always pushes forward. See how nice that looks? Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Make sure your handle's nice and straight. Bring it through, turn one end under. You're going to do exactly the same thing. Take your little stylus or stiletto, whatever you name it, the thing, and do the same thing again. We have just completed our darling little bag. So your little credit card is going to fit right down inside of there. You're going to get your cell phone and slide your cell phone in. You're going to open up and put your little Lysol wipes. Now I've just used a regular sandwich Ziploc bag. Now we can put that down inside of there. So we've got the opening right at the top. So all we have to do is just pop this open, take one out, and I folded each individually, seal it back up. And if you watched the video before where we did our little hand sanitizer, and I don't have one in my thing, I'm sorry, you could even take and hook it on. There's another video that I did of a simple project for your little hand sanitizer to fit down inside. You could fit that right on here with your little C-clamp, and you are good to go, and you have everything to keep you clean and healthy. I hope you enjoy.